Energy with Tom Strader. Tom, of course, is the CEO of MG12, and we select companies that provide, or that are affiliates that provide very unique nutraceuticals. For example, on my desk I have some Magnus Sport Roll-On. It's amazing for energy, endurance, and cramping. And if you're getting muscle cramps anywhere or pain, the first things you want to apply are our creams, or liposomal creams, of curcumin and pregnenolone to turn off the inflammation, alter the DNA, and heal. But then I would roll on Magnus Sport. In fact, you're getting a massage. What I often like to do is to recommend the curcumin, pregnenolone, and roll on the Magnus Sport while your massage therapist is breaking down your adhesions. Remember, when you're exercising, and that's why we recommend the Vibra Slim, I call Vibra Fit system, we strongly recommend it. It breaks up all the adhesions in your connective tissue, stimulates blood flow, pumps your lymphatics. The Magnus Sport is amazing. The most serious thing in our body is magnesium and trace mineral deficiencies. This has the Dead Sea minerals. It has arnica montana, a number of essential oils, and it's amazing. There's a whole line of products. I use the Magnus soap. I use the roll-on underarm deodorant. We use the shampoo. Every single product is going to remineralize you, heal your body, and help along with all our nutraceuticals from the inside, our NutriMeds. This heals from the outside. So I want people to understand that we try to provide things that are going to empower you and heal you. For example, one of the stories that Tom had last week is his own personal heart attack caused by magnesium deficiency. And what happens is when you're looking at magnesium deficiency, I was a medical resident back in 1978 at the Calgary General Hospital. And I finished a year of internal medicine at the Vancouver General, which is the second largest hospital complex on the planet. And on an average day, I would see 240 patients, not 40, 240. I would do about 45 pronouncements of death after cardiac resuscitations, and most of them didn't make it, unfortunately, because of the technology. But I realized when I was working at the Calgary General, I pulled up the literature because, I'm a readomaniac, and that the Texas A&M research on heart ligation studies found that when they ligated the hearts and analyzed the hearts of dogs, that it was magnesium depleted. So I asked the head pharmacy department to get me some magnesium, and my nickname in medical school residency was Dr. Wild Bill, because I've done every kind of surgery, trauma, whatever that you can imagine. I've done extra training in orthopedics and plastic surgery, trauma surgery, burn units, etc. And I've even done eye cataract surgery. And so, I decided to do a direct intracardiac injection and or through a subclavian or a cut down. And I had people that basically otherwise would die when I gave them magnesium. So I reported back to Dr. Eisenberg and the research for the American College of Surgeons back in 1978. I was having great success by adding magnesium to the ACLS protocol, which at the time had no magnesium, it was only potassium. By the way, you can't hold on to your potassium if you don't have adequate total body magnesium. And the only foods that have magnesium are nuts, a little bit of citrus, and some green vegetables. And most of the soil in our country has killed the soil and the soil-fixing bacteria, so most of the minerals, especially trace minerals like vanadium, chromium, selenium, are completely depleted, 97% or plus. So, basically 95% of the population are dramatically deficient in magnesium. And when you're under stress, your body dumps magnesium. In fact, the best single marker isn't measuring free radicals in your blood or urine. It's measuring your magnesium. I call hypermagnesiuria, where you drop magnesium in your urine. So if you're under stress, the number of millimoles of total 24-hour magnesium is a direct measure of your stress in your body. You use it up, you spill it out, or if you're a runner or exercising, you're going to lose magnesium. Now, we have, for internal use, we have the magnesium glycinate malate, which is our top magnesium. We have, of course, the Brain Mag, which is magnesium L-threonate that crosses the blood-brain barrier very effectively. It has also, in our Calm Mind, magnesium taurate, which is not quite as good, but it's really good. It's very important as a co-mineral both in the heart and the brain. And magnesium allows you to retain your potassium. It's the main mineral that turns off the pro-inflammatory, pro-activation mineral called calcium. So most of the body processes, including activating enzymes, are calcium dependent to turn it on. Magnesium is the off switch. It's also interesting that magnesium is a primary mineral to convert energy in your mitochondria for the electron transport in what's called the mitochondrial electron transport chain to actually convert food into energy. So if you don't have adequate magnesium, you can't not only protect yourself with glutathione peroxidase, but your mitochondria can't work properly. And if you get magnesium deficiency, it's one of the primary causes of why we're having a massive explosion of diabetes, besides deficiency of selenium for superoxide dismutase, chromium, vanadium, and other trace minerals like zinc and copper. When you start using the Magnasport and the other magnesium products, the MG12 products, you're going to start noticing that our internal products are great, but you're going to even get some extra benefit by adding the external products. That link will be back up probably by later today, so we can actually track down exactly what is wrong with your body by using a QRMA machine or a PAC red cell test. A lot of people, when they go to their doctor, they measure serum levels of magnesium. If it drops below 1.1 milligram per deciliter, which is the standard blood test, your heart stops. It'll stop. Full stop. Now, if you measure total tissue magnesium, the first step is to measure a quantitative resonant magnetic analysis, which will tell you what your mineral and vitamin levels are throughout your tissues. If you want a corroborative functional medicine test, you can go to labtestingdirect.com and request a test of PAC red cells for 22 minerals and toxic heavy metals through Genova Labs, or you can also do a similar test at Doctor's Data in Chicago. Genova Labs is in Atlanta. You can have either a LabCorp or Quest Tech draw the blood with a kit, or you can get a mobile blood tech come to your kitchen and draw the blood there. You can actually find mobile blood tech services. So you don't need to go to a doctor to get the test, and you can actually order the test, get the kit, have a mobile tech, or go to LabCorp or Quest, and they'll give you a small charge for drawing the blood. What's important is people don't realize that the primary driver that's most easily corrected, and sometimes takes time, because magnesium can take, if you're taking inferior supplements, can take a number of months to get your magnesium even partially elevated. If you take our magnesium glycinate, magnesium malate, which is important for the Krebs cycle, along with taking our brain mag with our Combine that also has taurate, and then you take externally the MG12 product line, which are cosmetic lines from shampoo to creams, etc., what you're going to find is your total body magnesium and other minerals, because there's 14 trace minerals present in the MG12 products from the Dead Sea that are not even in the oceans, that are in every living thing. Those trace minerals turn on genes to activate chromosomes. They activate your body to heal. They turn off inflammation. They turn off muscle cramping, and they stop coronary spasm. Most people may not be aware of this, but long before you get an unstable plaque, let's say the bifurcation of your left anterior and circumflex arteries in your arteries have been in spasm in spells on and off for months or years, most likely years. And if you actually do a high-speed CT scan with a calcium score, you can see exactly where those spastic areas have been. And I was involved in this study in 1987-88 with a cardiology diagnostic company when I practiced in Georgia. And we found that males over age 30 that had hypertension, just hypertension, no other risk factors, that weren't diabetic, and some were slightly overweight, some were significantly overweight, but 1/3 of them had coronary spasm even while they're asleep or having sex, or just not even having symptoms. No diaphoretic, didn't have chest pain or shortness of breath or nausea. And they didn't realize that those coronary spasms were the things that are setting up unstable plaque, calcified unstable plaque. Now, if their total body magnesium was high, and they were taking things like our cardiovasc to heal their endothelial cell wall lining, they were taking ellagic acid and omega supreme krill and Vein-Away, which is diosmin, their plaque's going to clear. Their body's going to take care of the endothelial lining with the ellagic acid, the omega supreme krill, and also our NutriDefense, which has the most powerful antioxidant, anhydrous catechins, polyphenol. We've got Tom. Tom, it's wonderful to have you on the program. I was giving a little story. You've gone through your own personal crisis with magnesium, and I call it the king of minerals. I'm going to redo my video on anti-aging, and I'm presenting my theory of aging to the Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. And I'm familiar with all the other plans, but the very first step in reversing aging, which is a bidirectional process, by the way, is remineralization. Now, your product doesn't just contain magnesium in its biological form, magnesium chloride, but it also contains 14 trace minerals in the Dead Sea that are not present in even the regular current oceans, but they're in every living thing. And it's like the black keys on a keyboard. Without the black keys, you can't form chords. And without the chords, you can't turn on your DNA to actually transcribe structural proteins or enzymes. So your product, combined, which is ionic forms of magnesium, combined with our internal products like our magnesium glycinate, brain mag, etc., and our minerals, our trace amino acid chelated minerals and Minerals Plus and Vitamineral Max and Life Support. This is a winning strategy for step number one. You have to remineralize the body, or you can't heal. You can't stimulate your stem cells. You can't stop free radicals. For example, there's 400 enzymes in the body dependent on magnesium alone, let alone these other trace minerals. People don't realize that, do they?
No, they don't. Neither did I when I first started on these minerals. I had no idea what the benefit of magnesium chloride and the minerals from the Dead Sea was going to mean to my body.
Right, and I mean, your body, in other words, you weren't ready for faceplant time.
Yes, I'll tell you this.
You know, most people are aware of this, but they don't get advanced symptoms that they're going to have a heart attack. 1/3 of males, and it's actually even higher in females. Do you know that it's a half of females that have underlying heart disease? Not a third like it is in males. Their first symptom of heart disease is they die. They go faceplant. They have a cardiac arrest. They don't come back, and they don't come back in the ambulance, and the clot-busting drugs don't work, and they're dead. Mm-hmm. Most people don't know that, do they?
No, they don't. And that's, as I shared with you before and with your listening audience, I was very fortunate when I had that heart attack at age 40 that the small artery on the backside of the heart, when my heart spasmed and cramped, was a very small artery. And my doctor told me, he said, if it would have been a larger artery, you'd have been dead, and I wouldn't have had a second chance. But it was, it takes calcium to constrict the heart, magnesium to relax it, and that's the pumping action of the heart. And Dr. Bill, I don't think anybody really understands how important magnesium is just for heart health alone. Nothing, don't think about anything else. Without the heart beating, you're dead.
Yeah. And also all the other trace minerals. For example, most people don't realize, and they probably don't know this, in order to make tetrahydrobiopterin that makes nitric oxide to keep your vessels responding to the shearing force of your heart contraction to make the blood vessels contract, which pumps 80% of your blood, you need molybdenum. You need selenium. You need these other trace minerals that are just not even present in the soil anymore. In fact, they've killed the soil with all the pesticides and the other things they've done to the soil, or they don't rotate crops. And as a result, the soil-fixing mineral bacteria are not there, and you don't remineralize it. For example, in my gardens, I take a dilute solution of your MG12 product. I put a little indiamese, which is a chaperone to bring minerals into the cells. So I take a little bit of indiamese, take the MG12 and dilute it, like in a gallon jug, and spray it on my tomatoes, veggies, and roses. And I can tell you what I've done, I did last year, just as a demonstration to my gardeners, because they think they know everything, right? When my guy is a really smart guy, Juan, this guy's brilliant for gardening. So I sprayed all my rose bushes, and I got about 76 rose bushes here. Plus I have all kinds of fruit trees. And year-round I have fruit in every season. And I got a greenhouse. So I went and sprayed them. The next day it was like one of those B movies, like, whoa, all the roses went and just went crazy. And people don't know that this is why when you talk about minerals, if I see somebody's minerals all in their boots, and the problem is the serum level doesn't tell you what's going on in the tissues. Each organ has to have an optimal level of specific minerals, which may be a little different fingerprint for each organ than the other. For example, if your blood vessels don't have adequate levels of glutathione peroxidase and superoxide dismutase, the free radicals shut down nitric oxide, and your blood vessels can't do a contractile response to pump your blood through, and you develop what we call hypertension, which is basically, instead of calling it hypertension, they should call hypoperfusion, which means low perfusion, induced hypertension. In other words, when your body perceives you're not perfusing with oxygen and nutrients, which is due to mineral deficiency again, you're going to get hypertension. So we give people cardiovasc, and then we give them the magnesium glycinate, and we give them brain mag to calm them down, and calm mind to calm their central nervous system down. And then we tell them to start using the MG12 products. And their body says, hey, I can do this. I'm more relaxed. I've taken my brain mag and calm mind during the day, my cardiovasc. I'm taking care of my blood vessels with, Omega Supreme Krill, Omega Supreme, ellagic acid, and diosmin, which is our vein away. I'm taking the MG12 products, and my body says, you don't get muscle cramps anymore. Do you remember that? And a lot of people don't really, they're weekend warriors. They go out and they do golfing or they hike for miles and they say, wow, my legs used to hurt like crazy when I come home. Now I just rub on my roll-on Magnasport or spray it or hop in the tub and just soak in it. That's what I do in the morning. I take 3 big squazes of the Magnasport in my tub along with my bath oils, and I also put in Nutridyne, my monoatomic Tesla activated iodine, and I'm there in my body saying, thank you, Bill. I'm going to work hard for you today. I'm not going to die today. I'm going to feel great. I'm not going to cramp up. Or this is the other thing. When you're inflamed, your tissues stick together. Your interfascial muscles, your fascia on your tissues, and everything's connected to the fascia and the skin. The fascia determines whether you have pain, because the pain generators refers to the fascia, and your skin is like the screen on your computer. Without the skin, you cannot suffer pain, even cancer bone pain. Most people don't know that. I'm putting together a book on pain, which is very radical. It explains what pain is, which basically has not been understood in the past, and have done over 36 years of research in this. The problem is it comes right back to a great extent to minerals. Amazing, isn't it? So simple.
And that's, people stumble over simplicity. They don't understand how important just the simple things are to the body.
Right, and if you're stressed emotionally, business-wise, financially, not getting adequate sleep, your mineral levels are in your boots. And we clone ourselves into the future, but guess what? That cloning process requires minerals. You can't even release melatonin or your pacer nuclei in your brain that actually creates some morphogenic field frequencies to actually make your DNA modulating proteins that we have from Dr. Kavinson and the Russian Academy of Sciences in St. Petersburg, which I can do, they're like I call better than a stem cell transplant or an augmentation of it, because we have peptides for each organ system. But without the minerals, nothing works. It doesn't work. People say, well, what am I getting better? I say, well, first off, you're taking inferior products that are not NutriMeds, which is not wise. If you take our, bioconverted, activated and super high bioavailable nutrients, but if you don't have the minerals, it doesn't matter what else you're taking. They're going to have minimal effect in your body if your minerals are in your boots. They're just not going to work. Interesting, hey?
Yes, it is.
Let's run through some of the products. Let's go some of the products. We have a few minutes left in this segment, and we can actually do a little bit more.
All right, let's start off with where it all begins. It's with the Dead Sea minerals that we import from the Dead Sea, and that's the beginning of it. We take our Dead Sea minerals, and we infuse that with water, take it through a proprietary process to make our magnesium oil, which is basically a misnomer, Dr. Bill. It's not really an oil. It's a very dense, viscous product of not only magnesium chloride, but also the 21-plus minerals from the Dead Sea, and 14 being uniquely from the Dead Sea.
But you're in every living thing, by the way. The problem is, even if you were to take and make oil from the ocean, it's not the same as the oil from the Dead Sea, which is, this is another miracle that God put at the Dead Sea in Israel, is the minerals there are the minerals of life. And it's interesting, the batholith, the largest batholith of oil on the planet, which is 27.4 trillion barrels of oil, and it's renewable because it's a giant ocean of oil, are right there at the southwest end of the Dead Sea, where 95% of the potash on the planet and the minerals are right there at the Dead Sea. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. And it's in Israel. That is amazing,
it's in Israel.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You see, God has this blessing, nascent blessing, waiting for repentance, renewal, and resurrection of the two houses of Israel, the house of Ephraim and the house of Judah. And that day's coming.
Amen.
I think your little blocked artery was one of those things where you have a bad thing happen for good, for God's purposes in the future.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, sir.
Stay right there. We'll continue in the next segment. I just have a quick question. MG12. Go to our website, NUTRIMEDICAL.com, and just go to the under affiliates. You'll see a link there. The reason why you want to go to that link is we will get credit because they're an associate of us. And as you purchase it, we get some credit for all the products you purchase there. They keep track of it. You're going to notice the difference. And again, this also, by the way, will work with your pets. A lot of people don't realize you not only need to have high-quality pet food for your pet, but you need to make sure they get all the vitamins and minerals, which most of the time they're not getting veggies. But they also need the minerals. And the best way to do is rub them down with these oils. A lot of people don't realize, especially bigger dogs that are going to turn over minerals real fast. They get osteoporosis, they have heart problems. I have a next-door neighbor who Their big dog was a beautiful dog, wonderful girl, female dog, and she was out romping around the area here, and we're in rural Vista, which basically we're smack up against Pendleton, which is several hundred square miles of just coyotes, rattlesnakes, king snakes, and tarantulas and everything. But it's beautiful up here in the mountains. And it's actually very green because in Southern California the road's over. But the other dogs in the neighborhood came down, and one of them was kind of pretty aggressive. And this beautiful dog, 10 years old, had a heart attack and died. Now, you got to realize a lot of the stuff, your veterans won't even tell you this, your veterinarians, but a lot of the minerals that are put out there, including the ones that are spoken of repeatedly to say, get our minerals, they're really good, or whatever, a lot of times they're mined out of the ground. And they contain heavy metals. You do not want that. You want ionic minerals that are the good, healthy ones, which you'll find from the Dead Sea. And ionic minerals are also, if you get the good ones, not heavy metals, you can rub them in your skin. That's why I tell people, spray it on areas of muscle spasm, massage it in, take it in your bath. Do it for your pets, too. If your pets are having cramps, you're taking them on for long walks, a lot of people don't think of this. Well, is my dog, especially exposed to heat, losing magnesium and other trace minerals? Yeah. So when you go to NutriMedical.com, NUTRIMedical.com, you'll see a link there, and you'll see MG12, and you'll see the symbol there. Click on that, and it'll take you directly to the store. That's the way you always want to shop. And once you're registered there, your system will keep track of the referral, which is really important because that helps us support us in our show and everything we do to try to make updated protocols. Of course, we've got lots of things we're going to be adding here. Professional training site on our Blueberry account for more advanced training for health professionals. We're going to be upgrading the wellness conditions, including the 1, 2, 3 on the Dr. U book, which will be, again, that upgrade will be occurring probably by midsummer or by, at the very latest, Labor Day. And we're going to be inserting video on all of these, plus a lot more expanded information in terms of testing, etc. But people need to realize functional medicine is evidence-based. A lot of time, doctors are sloppy. Now, I'm a medical legal doctor, and I can tell you, if someone says, well, why did my husband die? Why were they having panic attacks? If you've got PTSD, for example, your mineral requirement is even higher than normal because your body is in constant fight or flight. So if you were to test the packed cell red cell mineral test, or QRMA, look at the resonant frequency of minerals, you're going to find their magnesium is in their boots. Now, it may not show up right away unless their cellular energy is high enough, which we have nutraceuticals that will raise your cellular energy to the point where it'll unveil these serious imbalances. But the first and most primary thing that happens to people, and they should realize this, is mineral deficiency. Now, the sine qua non of all the illness is free radicals, acidosis, and hypoxia. Guess what the first thing to do to counteract that? Mineralization, activated nutraceuticals to support all the metabolic pathways, which is orally our special NutriMeds, which are very unique. Nobody else has every single component of all the vitamins completely in their activated, genetically activated state. Bioavailable for long periods of time, like Nutritrel. I just took one off my desk here a short while ago. Recycles your fat and water soluble antioxidant systems. Cell detox glutathione, the most powerful antioxidant you can imagine. But you see, if you don't have the minerals present, these things don't work optimally. For example, you want to make tetrahydrobiopterin, you need to have molybdenum. You need to have zinc and copper. You need to have selenium. And if you don't have that, you can't make tetrahydrobiopterin to make nitric oxide. Interesting, hey? And then you can test on the back of your tongue with Berkeley test strips. So, again, go to NutriMedical.com. We will have the link up after the show today for getting your MG12 products. Wonderful gifts to give to relatives, friends, birthdays, just feel great days. How's that? So thank you, Tom. We'll have you back on soon, and we'll get that link up after the show today. So if you have questions, call me.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bill.
Yeah, take care. Of your blood vessels is one of the primary things that determines your health. When we look, for example, at some of the latest research on diabetes, they can actually see damaged mitochondria and fragmented DNA segments in your eukaryotic cell DNA on the blood vessel walls. When we look at blood vessels, if you do a B-scan ultrasound of your carotid arteries, or if you do a high-speed CT scan and see calcium scores that are elevated, those are primary areas of plaques developing with vasospasm. it all comes back to the care of your blood vessel walls, your endothelia, the media, which is the muscular layer, the mitochondria, and the prevention of oxidative damage and the prevention of, we call oxidized fatty acids and oxidized cholesterol, called 9-norenyl hydroxycholesterol. In fact, I remember Dr. Phil Broughton, the British biochemist who ran antibody assay reference labs, is now part of Genova Labs. Their antibody assay labs is in Los Angeles, Genova in Atlanta. And, of course, I've been doing this for decades now, soon approaching 4 decades, so I'm one of the primary teachers for the Academy of Anti-Aging, Environmental Advancement in Medicine. And there's lots of validating ways now. We now have the EndoPat and EndoThelix technology, and I'm going to bring the techs on for a special show interview, but also on our live stream channel. I'm going to go through the specifics of these technologies that can compress your blood vessels, then release it after 5 minutes of compression and look at the return of blood flow or return of blood capillary temperature of your fingertips to show whether your endothelia is working properly. Now, there's a number of, I call knockoff, me too, I'm just as good as Cardiovasc, which used to be called Cardivite, and they aren't. And there's a number of reasons why they aren't. Let's go through. Sam Ibrahim developed the original formula. It is the only highly certified formula in Canada and Australia, which is the highest certification required in the world for I call a nutrapharmaceutical. These are pharmaceuticals, grade levels nutraceuticals, where the number of biomolecules is from the right part of the plant, the right concentrations, and every batch is consistent. There's no heavy metals, excipients, or solvents, and it has the actual whole formula. So we have a number of people who have taken these other formulas, and they have taken Cardiovasc, and they go, whoa, my hands are warmer, I don't have chest pain, I don't get tachycardia, my heart failure is going away. Why is it so different, doctor? And then I explained to them, this is the formula. That's why it's certified in Canada and Australia. That's why it is the formula. It's not a knockoff. So can you give us some details of some of the technology behind each nutrient and why it's the right part of the plant and how we validate every batch to measure with high-pressure chromatography, which, by the way, our other nutraceutical companies that make our NutriMeds do that. But most, 99.9% of nutraceuticals out there, including those given even by naturopaths, do not. That's why you're going to get Dr. Deagle 7-star nutraceuticals if you want to get well. And you're going to also allow us to give you validating what we call functional medicine testing, whether it's the QRMA or blood, urine, stool, organic acid testing, genetic testing, imaging studies, etc. So Fareed, tell us about the formula that your dad, Sam Ibrahim, made, which is the formula, not a knockoff. What's in it, and let's go through each component.
Sure. Well, it's a blend of 7 herbal extracts, and really these are ingredients that are designed to work together to reduce cardiac risk factors and improve organ perfusion and circulation in general.
And improve and reverse plaque, too. We have people that have actually had blocked arteries. 1 in 20 males over 40 has a 93% or higher blockage of at least one major artery in their lower legs. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is insane. Yeah. So the number 1 ingredient in the product is the hawthorn. We use a hawthorn leaf and flower extract grown in Europe, which is a very important point because hawthorn is also grown in China, and it's actually a different genus of plant. And even though, much like a jaguar and a tiger are both cats, it's related, but it's not the same thing. And the studies that have been done on hawthorn have all been done on the European-grown strain. And also the part of the plant that we use is the leaf and the flower extract. And we test for...
Not the berries, right? The leaf and the flower.
Not in the capsule form, no. And so... basically, what we do is we test for an active marker compound called hypericin, and we test by HPLC. And we do that on every batch, and in the U.S. it's actually known as Vitexin. So
right.
They're an equivalent compound, basically.
Right. Yeah, and by the way, the Vitexin is what's called a cardiotonic, so it reverses heart failure, reverses contractile peristaltic response to the shearing force of your heart contracting. Now, I'm going to post up the studies and do a video on this, that the studies have shown, because I'm a bit of a mathophile, I like to validate with mathematics and science. And the published literature by cardiologists or PhDs also have proven that your heart only pumps about 30% of your blood flow. 70, 80%, depending on the person, is actually your blood vessels. In fact, the heart doesn't pump any blood back to the heart. It's all the venules and the veins. Their contractile shearing force wave pushes the blood back to your heart. All your heart does is pump the blood out to the lungs, then out to the aorta. When it hits the aorta, the cross-sectional area of your aorta is only a tiny fraction of the cross-sectional area and the pressure differences of all your blood vessels. So your blood vessels pump your blood. Your heart just starts the initial shearing force, and if your blood vessels are not healthy to respond with nitric oxide, with the contractile force of the mitochondria in the medial layer, you do not have circulation. You have decreased or hypoperfusion, and there's a number of reflex changes the body does, both autonomic nervous system, angiotensin-converting enzyme, the carotid body in the neck, and other things. So this goes beyond what's called Guytonian physiology of the heart. So when I corner cardiologists and internists and other people that think they know everything about this, I quote journals and articles in their own journals that are published already that shows the non-Newtonian fluid dynamics and the specific equations to prove that what I'm saying is true. And now we have these technologies like the endopatent endothelix and other imaging studies that can prove that Dr. Bill, again, is unfortunately, and by the way, this is not arrogance, is right because I'm competent. I pursue the truth like a wild animal pursuing a bleeding prey. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
So, jaws to that, I say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the other ingredient that is important is the garlic, and we use an aged garlic extract. Again, standardized to 1% allicin, which we test for in every batch.
Right, and now it's not just the allicin, which we have in our allicin med and Alamax, but it's the aged garlic that has an effect on angiotensin-converting enzymes. And one of the compensating systems that gets excessively elevated, which, by the way, the cardiovascular lower your angiotensin-converting enzyme, it also lowers C-reactive protein. And one of the other technologies we use is our lumen photon over the kidneys, because the kidneys are the things that drives your CRP up and your plasminogen activator inhibitor 1 levels. These compensations basically are excessive, and they cause some of the problems. That's why doctors will try to rush out and give you an ACE inhibitor or an ACE receptor blocker. You can get that action in taking Cardiovasc. You don't need to take a drug that can cause, for example, postural hypotension. A lot of seniors, if they take an ACE inhibitor or ACE receptor blocker, they get up quickly and they get a postural hypotension. Their blood pressure hits the floor, and all of a sudden their diastolic pressure is so low they don't perfuse their brain and everything, and they black out. So you don't get that with Cardiovasc. It's a nice, smooth work on the body to lower the pressures.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
Okay, next.
Okay, so then there's the bilberry.
Bilberry is the most dialyzable antioxidant that we know in plants. And it's interesting, bilberry is used in the Second World War. In the First World War, when they didn't have glass that had UV protection, so they wore those little Snoopy-type helmets with welder glass in them because they go blind. It also improves night vision. Interestingly, bilberry protects the eyes, so your night vision is dramatically increased. But it also crosses the blood-brain barrier, the blood vessel walls, so it reduces oxidative stress in your vessels. That's important because in the back of your eye, bilberry is known to improve vision and the microcirculation to your optic nerve head and the rods and cones, which is why it's also these components are present in our Vision Max. So this is really important to understand that care of your endothelium and the blood vessel health determines not only are you going to prevent inflammation, but autoimmune disease and cancer. There's a direct link. People say, you mean if I improve my perfusion? I said, because all disease, and this is important, has hypoxia, at least less oxygen, acidosis, right, and free radicals. So if you perfuse things properly and you have the proper mineral content and antioxidants, your body will prevent illness. And perfusion is really important. That's why, our cardiovasculars are a perfusion formula. How's that? So people take it and they say, gee, my brain's working better, my memory's improved. I don't get leg cramps when I go and do a weekend warrior walk all over the golf course. I don't wake up, we take it, for example, this is the first step of, we call Viagra, along with our, people taking our Supernox to increase nitric oxide, or our BioLVR to increase tetrahydrobiopterin, along with our minerals in, Minerals Plus and Vitamineral Max, because without the proper minerals, you can't make the tetrahydrobiopterin, which is why Vitamineral Max Minerals Plus is so important, and life support. But, Viagra, basically, we tell people, start off with cardiovasc, add Supernox, then we add the male hormone enhancement things, such as Men's Max, hormone synergy, so you don't convert your male hormone to female, and DHEA and pregnenolone cream. But believe it or not, the first step in dealing with erectile dysfunction is cardiovasc. Interesting, eh?
Mm-hmm. So the other two ingredients that we get asked about quite a bit are the milk thistle and the valerian root.
Yeah, milk thistle is a universal, powerful liver stimulant and detoxifier. And endocrine disruptors, which are female hormone-like molecules, they actually don't look like it, but they're up to 300 times more avidly attached to the female receptor, so they have feminizing effects. They also have toxins that interfere with normal enzymes to protect you and allow your tissues and stem cells to work. So taking milk thistle is really important because you detoxify blood vessels, your liver, and your tissues. You get improved perfusion, you get improved genetic expression. So, and the other, of course, is the, what's the last component we were going to talk about?
The valerian.
The valerian is an autonomic balancer. Valerian is something that we'll sometimes see in some sleep medications. They're natural. And when you have the proper concentration of valerian at the proper stable level every time, it calms down sympathetic overactivity. Most people have hypertension, have a CNS problem, which is why the doctors are going to give you something stupid like beta blockers or clonidine, which is a central alpha blocker. If you take these, you take beta blockers for a male, you become fat, bald, impotent, and stupid. If you take a central clonidine, you become dumb, hypotensive, disturbed sleep, and depressed. So why take those when you can take something natural that will lower your sympathetic overactivity with valerian? And by the way, your formulas, the formulas of cardiovasc that your dad designed, the capsules are just as powerful as the drops. These other knockoffs, I think it's pretty well all drops, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, but they don't have the same
in
power.
our case, definitely it's the same.
The same, yeah. And the thing is, that what's the certification process in Australia and Canada that explains why these formulas are unique? Because actually, very few nutraceuticals, even manufactured at the highest standards, even get the certification, and the highest is Australia, and I'm right up there with to get the certification level in Canada.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but on that note, because other products, you'll find other products in Canada that'll get a certification on one of the ingredients. We've actually got a certification on the combination. So
Right.
Our approved claim in Health Canada is as a herbal medicine used as a heart tonic and herbal medicine used to support peripheral circulation, right? So not many other products out there have that claim, which took us, incidentally, 10 years to get.
Right now in America, we have the ginkgo biloba. Let's talk about ginkgo because the ginkgo is very important for microcirculation. I tell people, though, if they're going to have big surgery, stop it 4 days before surgery because it is going to make your blood less likely to form clots, which means you sit in an airline, you're less likely to throw off a clot and get a pulmonary embolus. It's going to also prevent microclots that are going to, damage your blood vessels, causing varicose veins and so on, and less likely to form plaque in your heart because ginkgo is very important for microcirculation, so it improves the brain, the heart, solid organs like the liver, etc. So ginkgo is important, but it is important to stop it 4 days before if you're going to have major surgery. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Some of the testimonies we've had are pretty amazing. We have people that regularly they've had previous heart problems and they don't get any more heart disease. Regularly we see people with a calcium score and their high-speed CT scan reverse it. Regularly we hear people that have had a blocked artery in their leg and the doctor says we're going to repeat your angiography or your ultrasound of your blood vessels or what's called a NEVA, arterial and venous study, and they come back to do it because they're planning on Dacron grafting those blood vessels, and they say, well, gee, we can't do it because you're all better. And this is kind of amazing. When we have a diabetic, for example, it's all microcirculation. The first thing that happens is, well, we got to take off that toe or a part of your foot, or we got to take a below the knee amputation. People start in our cardiovascular, and it's like their doctor says, what the heck are you doing? Continue doing it because I don't need to take off your toes or your feet or your below the knee amputation. So it's very regularly we find that people's microcirculation improves not only in their lower limbs, but throughout their body, solid organs, their liver, their other organs, because the sine qua non of diabetes is blood vessel damage and microcirculation damage and hypoperfusion of specific, we call organ systems, including your brain. So, for example, not only do your astrocytes become sugar resistant because of insulin resistance, so we call Alzheimer's and dementia, what I call type 3 diabetes, which is my term for it. Type 3 diabetes is diabetes of the brain, but it's also a microcirculatory problem. And as soon as you start improving microcirculation, you lower insulin, glucagon, and the stress hormones respond to a high insulin, cortisol. Your body starts to heal itself. And you get trace minerals to increase the GLUT4 transporter for sugar. You increase the nitric oxide and the other nutraceuticals. And that's why some of these formulas, when they work together, for example, you use our cardiovasc with magnesium glycinate malate, use it with brain mag and CalmMind to calm down the autonomic nervous system, use it with omega supreme and omega supreme krill, the astaxanthin, ellagic acid, and Venaway. We reverse heart disease regularly without using antiarrhythmics. This is another interesting thing. 1 in 7 adults over 70 has an atrial fibrillation, and almost all of them are on some dangerous clot-busting drug like Xarelto, which has got all kinds of lawsuits over it for killing people, bleeding to death, Eliquis, and of course Lovenox, which they have to do injections very often after surgery or after a clotting event like a DVT or a blocked artery, or a stent put in place. And of course the really old nasty stuff, which is we call rat poison, where you have to do blood tests for PTINR. And you don't miss it that when you start taking cardiovasc, your blood viscosity drops into a normal range, because we can prove your blood viscosity with a thing called a Rheologics test. Rheologic, Rheologics test, which measures your blood viscosity, non-Newtonian fluid blood viscosity test, which is in many ways more important than just the PTINR or even your platelet level, if it's in a normal range. And welcome back, and we have Fareed here. We just want to summarize. Every adult over 20 should be taking cardiovasc. Any child should be taking it. If your child has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, Down syndrome, I give it to my daughter with Down syndrome. She's 23. If you see someone, for example, that dies traumatically in their 30s with Down syndrome, and you actually do an autopsy, 100% show the blood vessel changes as someone double their age. That's because of the extra copy of the CQ2122 long arm of the 21st chromosome, which is all you need to get Down syndrome. There's 5 genes. I've done lectures to pediatric geneticists and cardiologists, etc. And years ago, this is over 20 years ago, I did a research study measuring oxidative markers of Down syndrome because of my concern and issues about my daughter and other kids with Downs. And I know the marker tests actually prove it. So when you have any kind of illness, again, remember, all illnesses are tied to free radicals. They all have a vascular component, whether it's cancer. For example, most people don't realize that when an organ develops cancer, it usually has a perfusion factor involved in that cancer or that autoimmune disease. I'll give you an example. Let's say you get autoimmune disease in your terminal colon, let's say ulcerative colitis. You have Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is a fungus or yeast that's used to make bread. But there's an immune homology between the proteins in the bread and in the gluten fraction, the gliadin fraction of gluten, and the Saccharomyces cerevisiae yeast and the bowel wall, the splanchnic or basement membrane. Now, how does it tie into perfusion? Well, when you have poor perfusion, the tissues develop free radicals and hypoxia, and the body's immune system gets activated to attack it. So it's trying to attack the fungus or the yeast in your gut wall. The same way with cancer, when the tissue's hypoxic, it actually starts, because of poor perfusion, it starts to activate genes to have this tissue survive, so it goes anaerobic. Now, in other words, anaerobic means not enough oxygen, not the delivery of nutrients, not the removal of biotoxins, or stealth pathogens, because toxins attract stealth pathogens. It's like having a dirty room. If your son as a teenager doesn't clean up his room, you'll have 2-week-old socks from his exercise and old milkshake sitting there for 2 weeks. Well, the same thing goes on in your blood vessels or your tissues. If you don't perfuse them, you don't get rid of the garbage that's in there. You don't go in and clean through the room to make sure they're gone. So, in other words, cardiovasc is also what I call a general cleaning agent to clean up the garbage that's in your lymphatic vessels, your blood vessel walls, and in your solid organs. If you don't clean them up, they eventually start to cause the genes to start to mutate to try to survive. And those genes basically can turn off hundreds of different genes to lose cell-to-cell contact and other things. So, believe it or not, perfusion is tied to activating most illnesses. Interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Which is one of the reasons why, for example, diabetics who have perfusion problems have 6 times the rate of heart disease and vascular problems. We also have 6 times the rate of dementia and cancer. 6 times more than the general population. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I am one of those, and that's why I, follow a pretty strict protocol.
Now, when you're looking at hemoglobin A1C, and people need to understand this, hemoglobin A1C is just where the sugar is attached. So if you control the perfusion and you control the free radicals, you don't develop glycosylated hemoglobin and inflammation. So again, cardiovascular, don't get the knockoff, get the good stuff from Dr. Bill. If you want wellness help, all you have to do is call or email. Your consults are free. And we have lots of videos and other information on our wellness conditions. You just need to qualify by becoming a customer. Just buy one product and you get access. We'll be back in a moment with hour number 3 in just a moment with Tim Alexander and whistleblower on the Clintons, Sally Miller, who had a 1983 3-month affair with the Bill, the serial rapist Bill Clinton, and serial harasser Hillary. Back in a moment.